My mother always said, the one who takes what they don't understand will pay for it. I didn't believe her, not until it happened to me. My name is Adetutu, and I live in Ibadan, one of the busiest cities in Nigeria. My family stays in the modest Face Me, I Face You compound in Bodija, where every corner buzzes with life. In the mornings, the smell of fried akara and yam mingles with the hum of radios blaring gospel songs. By evening, you can hear the calls of street hawkers selling everything from peppered fish to cheap jewelry. It's chaotic, noisy, and beautiful. Life is our compound, we predict. I went to school, helped my mother sell in her kiosk, and listened to her endless warnings about life and strangers. My mother always had one rule. Adetutu, no matter what, never take gifts from someone you don't know. Nothing good comes without a price. I used to roll my eyes whenever she said it. What could possibly happen if somebody gave me a little sweet? But everything changed when Fisayo walked into my life. It started on an ordinary Monday morning. Our teacher, Mr. Adewale, introduced a new girl to the class. Her name was Fisayo, and she was unlike anyone I've ever seen. She had flawless caramel skin that seemed to glow even in our dimly lit classroom. Her uniform was always perfectly ironed, and her shoes looked like they had never touched Ibadan's dusty roads. But it was her smile that captivated everyone, white, bright, and sincere. Fisayo was charming. By the end of her first week, she had won over the entire class with her politeness and intelligence. And then there was her sweets. They weren't like the cheap, unwrapped toffees we bought at roadside courses. They were colorful candies wrapped in shiny gold and silver foil. The wrappers shimmered under the sunlight, almost like they had a magic of their own. And Fisayo didn't hoard them. She gave them out freely. "Take one," she said with a warm smile, holding out her hand. "There's enough for everyone." At first, I avoided the sweets. My mother's warnings lingered in my mind. But it wasn't long before the entire class was hooked. Every day during break, students would crowd around Fisayo, eager for her treats. That's when I started noticing the changes. The classmates who took Fisayo's sweets began acting strange. It was subtle at first, an unusual quietness, a lack of energy. Then it got worse. They stopped playing during break and instead sat in corners staring at everything. Even Bola, my best friend, became distant. She barely spoke to me and started missing classes. Her once bright eyes looked dull, and her smile had faded entirely. I tried to ignore it, convincing myself it was all a coincidence, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. Then, one Friday afternoon, Fisayo approached me. "Adetutu," she said softly, holding out a golden sweet. "I noticed you haven't tried one yet. This one is special, just for you." Her voice was sweet, almost hypnotic. For a moment, I forgot my mother's warnings. Everyone else has taken her sweets, right? What could possibly happen? I hesitated, but her warm smile disarmed me. I reached out and took the candy. I wish I hadn't. That night, I had the most vivid dream of my life. I was in a market, but it wasn't like any other market I've ever seen. The stalls were made of bones, and the air was thick with smoke. Drums beat in the distance, and shadows darted between the stalls. Whispers in my name, "Adetutu, Adetutu." One shadow moved closer. It was Fisayo. Her smile was gone, replaced by glowing red eyes. "Welcome," she whispered, her voice echoing. "You're mine now." I woke up drenching in sweet, but the nightmare didn't end there. Over the next few days, strange things began happening to me. I would lose track of time, finding myself in places I didn't remember walking into. Once, I woke up in the middle of the night standing outside our compound with no memory of leaving my bed. Even worse, my reflection in the mirror began to feel wrong. It moved when I wasn't moving. Sometimes it smiled when I wasn't smiling. I told my mother everything. My mother didn't scold me. She didn't even look surprised. She simply shook her head and said, I warned you, Adetutu, gifts from strangers are not always gifts. That girl Fisayo is not ordinary. She's an agotan, a spirit that traps people through charms. Panic gribbled me. What do we do? I asked. My mother wasted no time. She called in my grandmother, Mama Sola, a fierce prayer warrior known for her spiritual strength. That evening, they prepared for a cleansing ritual. Mama Sola tied Odu protective charms around my wrists and ankles while my mother sprinkled salt in the corners of our room. They lit like increase, filling the air with a sharp woody scent, and began praying. As they prayed, I felt something heavy inside me, like a knot tightened in my chest. The pressure grew unbearable until, all at once, it snapped. I screamed and collapsed to the floor. Through the smoke, I saw Fisayo's face. Her glowing red eyes started back at me. This isn't over, Adetutu, she hissed. I'll be back. The next morning, Fisayo's desk was empty. The teacher said she has transferred to another school, but I knew the truth. Fisayo, or whatever she was, had moved on. I thought the nightmare was over, but it wasn't. A week later, I saw Bola holding a shiny sweet. Where did you get that? I asked, my voice shaking. Bola smiled, her eyes distant. A new girl gave it to me. She's so nice. My heart sank. The danger hadn't disappeared. It had only moved on. But this time, I wasn't going to stay silent. I decided to confront Fisayo with the help of Mama Sola. I tracked her to a house in the outskirts in Ibadan. It was an eerie, run-down building surrounded by overgrown bushes. The air around it felt heavy, as if the house itself was alive. Inside, I found Fisayo sitting in the center of a dark room, surrounded by glowing sweets. Her face was calm, almost sincere. I knew you'd come, she said, her voice echoing. What are you? I demanded. Why are you doing this? Fisayo's smile widened. I'm a messenger. The sweets are not curses, they're invitations. Those who take them join me in the spirit world where they belong, she said. I felt a surge of anger. They don't belong to you. Release them. She laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the room. You can't stop me, Adetutu. The living always think they can fight the spirits, but we are stronger. Before she could say another word, Mama Sola stepped forward. She hopped up a bottle of Omi-Ero blessed water and began praying aloud. The air in the room grew hot, and Fisayo's face twisted in anger. You think this will stop me? She hissed. But Mama Sola's prayers grew louder. The room filled with light, and Fisayo let out an ear-piercing scream. In a flash, she disappeared, leaving behind only the faint scent of burning sweets. When we returned home, my mother hugged me tightly. You've learned a hard lesson, Adetutu, she said. Not every gift is a blessing. Some gifts are traps, and you must be wise enough to avoid them. The story of Fisayo spread through the community, a cautionary tale that reminds us all of the wisdom in our elders' warnings. But even now, I wonder, where is Fisayo, and who will be her next victim? I no longer take anything from strangers. Not sweets, not smiles, not even kind words. Some things are too sweet to be good for you.